The stars were quiet over the ruined Earth. Above the dark planet, a silver ship floated in orbit. It belonged to the Velari Union, an alliance of many alien races who believed Earth was empty, lifeless, and forgotten. They had come not to explore, but to claim. The Velari had scanned the planet for days. Cities were broken, oceans were black, forests were wild and full of strange animals, but no intelligent life had been found. The last human signal had gone silent over 1,000 years ago during a massive solar flare. Everyone believed that event had wiped out the human race. Commander Draxel, leader of the mission, stood inside the ship's control chamber. He had long, thin limbs and silver skin that shimmered under the light of glowing screens. His voice was cold and calm as he spoke to his officers. Begin landing preparations. Earth is ours now. No resistance, no survivors. His officers nodded. Machines and drones were sent down. They landed across the broken surface of Earth, scanning for valuable resources. Old cities were picked apart. Skeletons of buildings rose like dead trees. Rusted cars, shattered towers, and cracked roads were all that remained of human civilization. But below the surface, deep inside the Earth, someone was watching. Far beneath a ruined city once known as Vancouver, a secret door opened inside a rock wall. Behind it stood Tarin, a tall and quiet man with sharp eyes and skin that seemed to blend with the shadows. His muscles were lean, his movements smooth like a wildcat. He wore armor made from a mix of metal and bone, and his breath was steady. Tarin stared at a glowing screen built into the cave wall. A signal blinked on it, faint but clear. It was a Velari drone, flying over the surface. His fingers tapped on the controls. Behind him, two others stepped forward. Mira, a small but fierce woman with dark eyes, and Rin, a silent man with strange marks on his arms. They had been born underground. They were not like the humans from the past. They were part of a new breed, a stronger kind. Humans had changed. Tarin turned to his team and spoke in a soft voice. They have come. They think we are gone. Mira narrowed her eyes. Do we act now? Tarin nodded. We observe first. We learn what they want. He moved to a hidden platform. It rose slowly, carrying him and his team toward the surface through a secret tunnel. As they traveled, lights flickered on, showing walls filled with old carvings and writing. Stories of the past, of fire in the sky, of the great solar flare that destroyed the world above. But not everyone had died. Some humans had hidden deep underground. They had used secret science to change their bodies. They had unlocked powers from inside their own DNA. In the dark, they had waited, trained, and adapted. Now, after 1,000 years, there was something new. They called themselves Shadowkin. The platform reached the surface. A hidden hatch opened under a dead tree. Tarin and his team crawled out and looked around. The air was cold, the sky gray. In the distance, they saw strange ships and machines moving across the broken land. The Velari were spreading. Fast. Tarin raised a small device. It blinked with a red light. He had caught the signal again. A drone passed nearby, scanning the ground. Tarin raised his hand. Mira vanished into the trees like smoke. Rin followed without a sound. They moved fast and silent. Their feet made no noise. Their eyes saw in the dark. They watched as the Velari drone hovered above a pile of rubble. Mira climbed a broken wall and leapt high, landing on the drone. With one quick move, she pulled out its power core. The machine fell dead. Rin placed a small bug on the drone. It started copying the Velari data, sending it to the base below. Tarin watched with calm focus. They are looking for resources. He said, an old human tech. Do they know we are here? Mira asked. Not yet, said Tarin. But they will. Back in the ship above, Commander Draxel stared at a screen. A red alert flashed. One of the scout drones had gone offline. He frowned but said nothing. A small loss. Earth was a dead world, after all. One drone lost to wild weather or animals was nothing to worry about. But he did not know that this small loss was the first move in a greater gain. Tarin, Mira, and Rin returned to the underground base. The tunnels echoed with their steps, lights. glowed as they passed. In a large control room, other Shadow Kin gathered. They were of all sizes and shapes, but all moved with the same grace and silence. Tarin stood before them and spoke. The sky has changed. The ones above think we are gone. They believe this world is theirs, but they are wrong. This is our home. We survived the fire. We became more than we were. We are the hunters now. The room filled with quiet energy. No one cheered. No one shouted. They did not need to. Every person in that room had trained since birth. They were not weak. They were not afraid. Ren placed a device on the table. It began showing the Velari maps and plans. One of the alien ships was setting up a large base near an old mountain. Another was digging into a human vault. They are searching for something, said Ren. They do not understand what they are waking. Tarin looked at the map. His eyes stopped on the symbol for the human vault. That place holds the first designs, he said. If they find it, they may understand what we have become. We cannot let that happen, said Mira. Tarin nodded. Then we act, quietly, carefully. No one must know we exist, not yet. The Shadow Kin moved into formation. They would not strike with fire or loud force. They would take their time. They would move like wind, like shadow, like the old hunters of the forests. Silent and deadly, they were not here to fight for survival. They were here to protect their world, and to remind the galaxy that humanity had not fallen, it had risen. The Velari thought Earth was silent. They believed it was only full of old stone, broken buildings, and animals. But deep under their feet, the heart of humanity still beat. Not loudly, not proudly, but with strength and purpose. The Shadow Kin moved through the tunnels of their hidden city. This place was called Hollow Reach, and it had survived longer than any surface nation ever had. It stretched for miles beneath the ground, filled with ancient machines, glowing walls, and power pulled from the deep heat of the planet. Tarin stood inside the central hall. Above him, the ceiling showed an old star map. Lines glowed faintly, showing the path of Earth's lost colonies across the stars. But those colonies were long gone. Only Earth remained. Mira entered quietly. She walked with careful steps, as always. Her hands were wrapped in cloth, marked with old signs. She gave Tarin a small nod. We traced the drone's route, she said. It passed over the ruins of the old city. Near the top, I saw lights. The Velari have set up a scanning post. Tarin turned to her, thoughtful. Did they find anything? Not yet, Mira said. But they are digging. At the same moment, in another chamber below, Ren stood. Before a large glowing table. It showed live maps of the surface and the tunnels below. He moved his hand and zoomed in on a flashing red spot. That was where the Velari had landed their main drill. It was getting close to Vault A-17, a sealed place holding data from the final years before the surface was destroyed. Tarin and Mira joined him. They are not just after resources, Ren said. They are hunting knowledge. Tarin narrowed his eyes. Do they know what Vault A-17 contains? No, Ren replied. But they suspect it matters. Tarin looked at the map for a long time. Vault A-17 held more than just old files. It was where the first phase of human evolution had begun. The scientists of the old world had created the first gene-changing process there. The core records were still untouched, protected by code and steel. If the Velari opened it, they might begin to understand how humans changed. We cannot let them see what made us. Tarin said, if they study our past, they will guess our present. Ren looked up. Then we must act before the drill reaches the vault. That night, a team of 7 Shadow Kin left Hollow Reach. Tarin led them. Mira was second. Ren stayed behind to guide them from the control room. Each team member wore tight suits that absorbed light. They carried no bright weapons, only silent blades and tools built for shadow warfare. They reached the surface through a hidden exit behind a wall of stone. The old city above was broken and quiet. Towers leaned like dead trees. Wind blew dust through hollow streets. Tarin raised his hand. The team froze. Ahead, the ground had been cleared. A tall metal machine stood in the middle. It drilled slowly into the earth, glowing red with heat. Velari guards walked in pairs, holding long weapons. Their faces were covered with glass masks. Their movements were stiff but alert. Mira crept along a ruined wall. She moved like a shadow. One with the night, she counted the guards and sent silent signs back to Tarin. 9 in total, 3 near the drill, 2 in the tower. For on the outer path, Tarin waited until the patrol turned. Then he moved. Like wind, the team spread out. Mira took the tower. Tarin moved to the left side near the drill. The others followed their paths without sound. In only 5 minutes, the Villari patrols were down. No gunshots, no fire, only silence. Tarin reached the drill and studied its controls. The machine was 5 minutes from touching the vault. "We disable it," he whispered. But before he could place the shutdown key, a small screen flashed. A Villari camera, hidden nearby, had captured their movement. The signal was already being sent. "They saw us," Mira said. Tarin worked fast. He cut the signal line and planted a virus to corrupt the video. But he knew it was too late. Even 1 second of clear footage could reveal what they were. Back in Hollow Reach, Ren saw the signal spike. "Someone activated a hidden camera," he said. "The Villari now suspect intelligent life." Tarin finished shutting down the drill. The machine died. Its heat cooling. He and the team carried the fallen Villari into the ruined buildings and destroyed the signs of their attack. "We move," he ordered. No trace. By morning, when a new Villari patrol arrived, they found only a quiet machine and dust. No guards, no signs of battle. Only the broken drill and a corrupted camera log. Still, the damage was done. Inside the Villari ship, Commander Draxel stared at the half-recovered footage. It showed a blur, a fast movement, then a flash of a human face, strong jaw, sharp eyes, skin marked with strange patterns. Draxel leaned forward. "This is not a beast," he said. "This is something intelligent." He stood and called his officers. "Double the guard. Send out seekers. Whatever lives here has seen us." He did not know it, but his words reached Hollow Reach. Ren had tapped the Villari communication line. Tarin listened calmly. "The commander is afraid," Ren said. "He knows now." Tarin stood still. Behind him, a wall showed old carvings of humans fighting monsters in the past. Those monsters had been alien invaders too. "We wait no longer," Tarin said. "We stop hiding. The Villari believe they are hunters. We will teach them what real predators look like." He looked at Mira. She nodded. She was ready. Her eye opened a map of all Villari positions on Earth. "They are building. Fast. 5 main camps, 3 dig sites, 1 communication tower." Tarin pointed at the tower. "That goes first." His voice was calm, but inside him burned the fire of 1,000 years of silence. Humanity had watched, had waited, had adapted. Now they would rise, and they would strike, not for revenge, but because the Earth still belonged to them. The moonlight shined on the dead city. The ruins stood still like silent watchers. Broken buildings, fallen roads, and empty towers filled the land. But under the cold light, movement returned to Earth. The Shadow Kin prepared for their first strike. Inside Hollow Reach, the hidden city below the ground, Tarin stood before a group of warriors. They wore dark suits that blended with stone and metal. Their eyes were sharp. Their hands were steady. These were not normal soldiers. They had been trained from birth. They had hunted in the dark. They had faced machines and beasts. They were faster, stronger, and quieter than anything the Villari had seen. Tarin spoke with calm power. "The Villari build their tower to reach the sky. They call for help. We must silence that call." Beside him stood Mira, her eyes cold but focused. She carried small tools that could climb walls and cut metal. Ren watched from a screen, his mind linked to the city's machines. He would guide them from below. Tarin pointed to a glowing map on the wall. A red mark showed the location of the Villari communication tower. "They believe we are shadows. They will soon learn we are more." That night, the team moved. 7 Shadowkin left Hollow Reach through the mountain path. They passed through quiet tunnels and rose to the surface through a hidden hatch in the forest. The wind moved the trees, but no sound came from the team. They were silent like the air itself. In the distance, The Velari tower stood tall. It had silver legs and a round top. Blue lights blinked across its body. Drones circled it slowly. Guards stood in pairs around the tower, holding long rifles. The aliens had added energy barriers around the main door. Tarin watched through his scope from a hilltop. 15 guards, he whispered, for drones. We move in 5 groups, strike from the shadows. No shots, no trace. The team split. Mira crawled under a broken pipe that led to the west wall. Another pair climbed across a broken bridge. Tarin and one more approached from the front, hiding behind stones and fallen machines. The first drone passed overhead. Mira threw a stone to the side. The drone turned to scan the sound. In that moment, she jumped, caught the bottom of the drone, and stabbed a tool into its control panel. The drone fell gently into the grass, its lights fading. Ren spoke through the earpiece. One down. The others will not notice. Move forward. At the east side, the guards walk near a fallen tree. One shadow can drop from a broken sign above them and pulled both guards into the ground before they could speak. Their weapons were taken. Their bodies hidden. Tarin reached the energy barrier. He placed a small device near the base. It blinked green. Barrier will drop for 10 seconds, Ren said. Tarin waited. Then the light blinked twice. The shield dropped. Tarin rushed in with his partner. They slipped inside the main control room of the tower. Inside, glowing panels showed live feeds from Velari camps. The alien officer in charge sat at a desk, unaware. Tarin stepped behind him and placed a blade near his neck. The alien froze. You built this tower to speak with the sky, Tarin said. But your sky has no answers. Mira entered with another team member. She placed charges on the tower's power lines. Ren guided her with calm instructions. Place the core disruptor under the main node. It will overload slowly. No explosion. No fire. Just silence. Outside, the rest of the team finished removing the guards. Not a single gun was fired. No one screamed. The air remained calm. It was not a battle. It was a message inside the tower. The alien officer spoke at last. You are human, but you are not the humans we knew. Tarin looked into his eyes. You never knew us. You only saw the surface. Now you see what we became. The officer shook with fear. What do you want? Tarin stepped closer. To be left alone. But you didn't. Give us that choice. He turned and left the room. Mira followed. The rest of the team vanished into the night. Behind them, the tower's lights blinked once, then died. The signal stopped. No message reached the Velari fleet. The sky was quiet again. At dawn, Velari scouts arrived. They found the tower untouched on the outside. But inside, the systems were dead. The guards were gone. The drones were broken. The officer in charge was tied to his chair, still alive but shaken. He repeated the same words again and again. They came without sound. They moved like smoke. They're not what we thought. Back on the main Velari ship, Commander Draxel watched the report. He played the security footage, but most of it was blank. One frame showed a human face. Another showed a blur in motion. That was all. He stood in silence. Round him, his officers looked uneasy. They do not fear us, one officer said. Draxel nodded. They study us. They strike only when needed. This is not wild behavior. This is planned. A new report arrived. Another camp had lost to patrols. No signs of battle. No bodies found. The Velari officers began to whisper. Are they? Many are they stronger than us? Why did we not detect them before? Draxel silenced the room. We are not leaving. Not yet, but we change our methods. No more patrols without support. No more solo drones. We build stronger walls. We prepare for war. He stared at the map of Earth and placed a red mark over the tower. You were right. Human, he said quietly. We did not know you. Back in Hollow Reach, Tarin watched the same satellite feed. The Velari had increased their guard. They had changed their strategy. That meant the message had worked. Mira stood beside him. They now fear the dark. Ren entered with new data. Velari ships in orbit have gone silent. They are no longer sending out colony requests. Tarin nodded. Then we strike again. The Shadowkin did not celebrate, they did not speak loudly. But in their eyes was something powerful. The first strike was over. The next would be louder. Because now, the galaxy knew one truth. Humanity had not died, it had learned how to hunt. The Velari had always believed in control. On every planet they had conquered, they had faced resistance. But never like this, never an enemy they could not see. Never a fight without sound. Now Earth was different. In the Velari main ship, Commander Draxel walked through the hall. His officers followed in silence. They passed screens filled with red alerts. Patrols had vanished. Drones had stopped reporting. The tower had fallen. Draxel stopped in front of a large window. Below, the blue-green planet turned slowly. His eyes narrowed. "Send a request to the High Council," he said. "Ask for more troops." "But the Council does not believe in wasting resources," one officer replied. "They will believe now," Draxel answered. "Tell them humanity still lives far below." Inside the mountain city of Hollow Reach, Taurine walked through an ancient chamber. Its walls were covered with carvings old human hands had painted. The history of the last days before the surface fell. He followed the path until he reached a sealed door. It was round, made of dark metal. A symbol glowed faintly on the center to cross lines forming a star. Taurine placed his hand on the door. It opened with a slow hum. Inside, soft light filled a hidden room. Shelves of old tablets and machines stood untouched for centuries. Rin entered behind him. "You are sure it's here?" Rin asked. Taurine nodded. "I remember my father speaking of this room. It holds the truth, the origin of who we are." They moved to the back wall. A large screen blinked to life. It showed the face of a woman, long dead. Her voice came next, calm, scientific, recorded before the flare. "If you are hearing this, then the surface is gone. The solar storm has begun. But we are ready." Rin listened with sharp focus. "The process has started," the voice continued. "The last group of humans has entered the deep gene phase. Their bodies will begin to change. Bones, nerves, minds, all will evolve. Not through machines, but through nature, unlocked." Taurine stared at the screen. "This is where it began," he said. "The shift, the rise of our kind." The screen showed more details. How the Shadowkin had been designed not for war, but for survival, for blending, for speed, for knowledge. Passed through instinct. It was the old world's final gift, returned to Taurine. They didn't just save themselves. They created something new. Taurine nodded. Double quotes, "And now, we must protect it." Outside the chamber, Mira trained a group of younger kin. They moved in perfect silence, learning to walk through broken metal and stone without a sound. She watched them with pride. The future was growing. A small alert blinked on her wristband. "Taurine," she said through the comm. "The Velari are scanning near the southern entrance. If they find the vent path, they may detect Hollow Reach." Taurine and Rin left the chamber at once. They reached the control hall where maps showed the surface in real time. A red dot blinked near the southern mountains. A Velari drone floated close to a large rock. Below that rock was a hidden air path leading into the lower tunnels. "They are getting closer," Mira said. Taurine stood straight. "Then we give them something else to see." That night, Taurine led another team to the southern edge. The land there was wild, filled with sharp cliffs and heavy trees. Wind moved the branches in waves. The Velari drone hovered slowly, scanning the ground. Mira climbed a tree. From there, she used a small mirror to reflect light back at the drone. It turned, curious. It followed the light deeper into the forest. On the ground, 2 Shadowkin set traps, not deadly ones, just distractions, old machines. Turned on for a few seconds, enough to pull attention away from the real path. The drone followed the signals. It recorded a fake heat source near a dry hill. That was the plan. Trick the Velari into thinking the energy came from somewhere else. Back in the ship, Draxel received the new data. He watched the drone footage. The energy signal was weak, but strange. It matched no known life form. Could this be the humans? One officer asked. "No," Draxel replied. "They are smarter than this. This feels too easy." But his words came too late. By then, His ground team had already moved. 20 Villari soldiers were sent to the dry hill. They searched all night. They found nothing but dust out in Hollow Reach. The southern entrance was sealed tighter than ever. Hidden from every angle, Tarin sat alone near the memory wall. His fingers touched the carvings. The lines told the story of the first fall, when fire had rained from the sky, when humans fled to the ground, when the cities had collapsed. But those lines were followed by new ones, a figure standing tall, watching, learning, changing. Tarin closed his eyes. "We were never weak," he whispered. "We just needed time." He stood and walked back to the planning hall. There, Rin showed him a new signal. "The Villari are building something," Rin said. "A gate, a call system. It will link directly to their outer fleet." Tarin stared at the map. "If that signal leaves Earth, others will come. Bigger ones, faster ones. We won't stop them all. Then we stop this one before it speaks," Rin said. Tarin looked at Mira. "Prepare to teams. We take their gate before it lights." Mira gave a sharp nod. The time for waiting was over. The Villari were moving faster now. Since the fall of their communication tower, they had changed their plans. They no longer sent out small patrols. Instead, they built larger camps, set up more drones, and guarded every corner of their operation. But even with all their changes, they were still afraid. Commander Draxel walked through his main war room. Large screens showed maps of Earth, blinking red where signals had been lost. Some were drone feeds. Some were patrols. A few were entire squads. He stopped in front of the latest report. The scout teams had disappeared near the old dam. No signs of battle. No weapons left behind. The only thing they found was one broken helmet, placed neatly on a rock. "They are not hiding anymore," Draxel said quietly. "They want us to know they are near." Behind him, his second officer stepped forward. "Sir, the gate system is almost complete. Once activated, it will link directly to the outer fleet. Reinforcements will arrive within 3 days." Draxel nodded. "Good. We must hold until then. Prepare extra guards around the gate site. No more mistakes." But far below, the shadow, Ken already knew. Inside Hollow Reach, the planning hall was full of movement. Red and blue lights blinked across the walls. Maps showed Villari movements, patrol lines, and most importantly, the gate site. It was located near the old canyon, surrounded by sharp cliffs and open sky. Tarin stood before the gathered warriors. Mira stood beside him, her eyes focused. Rin sat at the control table, feeding data into the mission path. "They are calling for help," Tarin said. "If that message reaches their fleet, this war will become a storm. We cannot fight the galaxy." He pointed at the gate site. "We strike tonight. Quiet, sharp, final." Mira stepped forward. "There are 40 guards, drones in the air, shield walls around the gate. They expect us." Tarin's voice stayed calm. "Then they will be disappointed." The mission was set. As night fell over the canyon, 2 teams of Shadowkin moved into position. They climbed across the high cliffs, blending with the rock. Wine blew across the land, but no sound came from them. Even the birds stayed silent. The Villari gate was tall, made of blue metal and white crystal. It stood like a half circle, with cables running into the ground. Machines around it hummed with energy. The signal was not active yet, but soon it would be. Draxel stood near the base, watching the engineers work. He wore a black command suit and carried a plasma blade at his side. He did not trust drones anymore. Not after what he had seen. Not after that shadow had taken his guards without a trace. He turned to his officer. "Are the shields ready?" "Yes, Commander." "No life can pass through them unnoticed." Draxel looked up at the cliffs. "That is what they said last time." Above, Tarin crawled to the edge of the rocks. He looked down through a special lens. The camp was tight, but there was one weakness. The shield generators were placed near the fuel tanks. A strange choice. One strong shock and both would fall. Mira gave a signal with her hand. 5 other warriors moved to different angles. They carried M charges, designed to disable machines without making a sound. Ren spoke softly in their ears. "Wind is strong. Good cover. Gate activation in 6 minutes. Move now. Taran dropped a small stone from the cliff. It hit the ground without noise, but it was the signal. The Shadowkin dropped from the cliffs like silent arrows. The first charge landed near the fuel tanks, the second attached to the side of the gate, the third disabled the drones in midair. Guards turned around, confused, but it was already too late. The charges flashed once. No explosion. Just a wave of power. Lights shut down. Machines went still. The shield wall vanished. Taran and Mira moved through the chaos. They struck fast, taking down guards with quiet blades. They moved like smoke, never staying in one place. Draxel drew his blade and swung at the shadows. He saw one figure rush past, too fast to follow. He turned, but a hand struck his wrist, disarming him. Taran stood before him now, calm, eyes sharp. No fear. You were warned, Taran said. Draxel raised his hands. What are you? Taran stepped closer. We are what you left behind. Guards ran toward them, but Mira dropped a second charge. A shockwave pushed them back. The gate started to collapse. Its crystal core cracked. Sparks flew. The metal frame bent and fell into itself. Taran stepped back. His voice was low. You saw us as prey, but you forgot something. The hunted learn. The hunted change. He turned and vanished into the smoke. By dawn, the gate's site was gone. Only broken pieces remained. The Velari survivors were silent. None had seen such skill. None had faced such fear. Back on the ship, Draxel stood in front of the high command screen. He had sent the last message before the gate fell. Request denied, the reply said. Earth is not worth full military attention. Draxel stared at the words. His hands shook. They don't believe us, he whispered. His officer said. Nothing. At Hollow Reach, the Shadowkin returned. No one spoke of victory, only of what came next. Ren shared a report. The Velari fleet has gone silent. Their messages to the outer systems have stopped. They are alone now. Taran looked at the map. And soon, they will leave. Mira stepped forward or fall. Taran gave a single nod. We will give them the choice. The revelation was complete. Humanity had not died. It had grown stronger. And now the hunters ruled the night. The sky above Earth was a deep black, pierced by cold stars. The Velari ships still hung in orbit, but something had changed. Their confidence was gone. The silence from the surface was louder than ever. They knew the humans were no longer hiding. Below, the ruined world was alive. The Shadowkin moved, like ghosts through broken cities and shattered forests. They controlled the land that was once taken from them. They were hunters now, not victims. Taran stood on a ruined rooftop, looking across the broken cityscape. His eyes were sharp and steady. Beside him, Mira checked her weapons. Her hands moved quickly, making sure every blade and tool was ready. We have the advantage, Mira said quietly. They do not know where we will strike next. Taran nodded. We will not give them time to prepare. In the underground halls of Hollow Reach, Ren worked furiously. His fingers moved over the controls, tapping into Velari networks. He was a master hacker, with every line of code broken. The Shadow can gain new secrets. They are trying to organize a retreat, Ren said. But their ships are damaged. They cannot leave yet. Taran smiled. Then we trap them. The Velari had built their main command center in the heart of the ruined city. It was a fortress of metal and glass. Guards patrolled the walls, flying. Drones scanned the skies. Machines hummed with energy. But they had forgotten one thing. The city was still home to humans. Taran led a team through the broken streets. They moved fast, silent as wind. They avoided patrols and cameras, slipping into old tunnels and secret passages. Their knowledge of the city was perfect. They reached the command center's base. There, the walls were thick and guarded by energy shields. But the Shadowkin had a plan. Mira placed a small device near the power generator. It sent a pulse that scrambled the shields for a moment. The team rushed inside through a narrow door. Inside, Velari soldiers shouted alarms. Guns fired, but the Shadowkin were already moving. They struck from the shadows, disabling guards with quick, precise attacks. No time for noise. No room for mistakes. Taring pushed forward to the main control room. There, he faced Commander Draxel. The Valari leader was older now, his silver skin marked with scars. His eyes burned with anger and fear. "You will not win," Draxel growled. Taring replied calmly. "We have already won." The fight was brief. Terran's speed was unmatched. He disarmed Draxel and held a blade to his throat. "Your soldiers will leave Earth," Taring said, "or they will die here." Draxel looked into Terran's eyes. For the first time, he saw not an enemy, but a force of nature. "I underestimated you," Draxel said. "You underestimated humanity," Taring answered. Outside the command center, the remaining Velari soldiers surrendered or fled. The Shadow King controlled the city once again. Back in Hollow Reach, Rin reported that the Velari fleet was preparing to retreat. Their ships were damaged and few in number. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson. Humans were not weak. Humans were apex predators. Taring stood before his people. His voice was steady. "We fought not only for survival. We fought for our future. The world belongs to us, and the stars will soon know our name." The Shadowkin raised their hands in silent salute. They were ready for whatever came next. Because on Earth, humanity had risen, and nothing would stop them now. The stars above Earth burned bright and clear. The dark planet was no longer a silent grave. It had become a beacon of strength and life. Humanity was awake, stronger than ever before. Taring stood on the highest tower of Hollow Reach. The underground city had grown. New tunnels and halls had been built. Machines hummed quietly, controlled by Rin and his team. Mira trained new warriors outside, teaching them to move like shadows. The Velari were gone. Their ships had fled or been destroyed. The outer fleets received only one message: Earth was lost. But this was only the beginning. Taring looked up at the sky. His eyes were steady. The galaxy had seen humanity's power. They had witnessed the rise of a new kind of hunter. Orion approached, holding a small device. "We have intercepted communications from other species. They are watching us now." Mira joined them, her face serious. "They fear what they do not understand, but we will show them." Taring smiled. "It is time. We take Earth's place among the stars." The Shadowkin had not only survived on Earth, they had learned, grown, and changed. Their bodies were faster, stronger, and smarter. Their minds were sharp, their spirits unbreakable. They were no longer just humans. They were apex predators. A new fleet was being built beneath the Earth. Ships designed to travel faster, to fight harder, to explore further. Rin's team worked day and night, breaking Velari technology and making it their own. Taring gathered his leaders. "We will reach the stars again," he said. "But this time, we do not run. We lead." Mira nodded. "The galaxy will remember us, not as a lost race, but as a force to be reckoned with." The first ship rose from the secret launch bay deep inside the mountains. Its engines burned bright as it broke the atmosphere. The Shadowkin warriors watched with hope and pride. Taring stayed behind, watching the stars. A voice came over his comm. "The fleet is ready. Destination, the lost colonies." Terran's heart beat strong. The future is ours. The galaxy had thought humanity extinct. They were wrong. Humanity had evolved. Humanity had risen. Humanity was the apex predator. The end.